Imagine a country at the heart of the European Union suddenly shifting its allegiance eastward, toward Russia and China, and possibly even aligning itself with the BRICS nations. Hungary, once considered the EU's black sheep, is now on the verge of a monumental geopolitical transformation. The burning question is why? What's driving Hungary to risk alienation from the EU in favor of fostering closer ties with Moscow and Beijing? What does this pivot mean for the future of Europe, NATO, and the global order? Let's dive deeper into this fascinating development. Since joining the European Union in 2004, Hungary has long been seen as a committed member. However, under Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's leadership, the country has taken a dramatic turn, embracing policies that challenge the EU's foundational principles. The reason behind this shift is clear. Hungary, under Orbán, believes the EU has overstepped its bounds, interfering with Hungary's sovereignty, particularly regarding its judiciary system and media freedoms. This anti-EU sentiment is widely shared among Hungarians who view their nation as a bulwark of traditional values, in contrast to what they see as the EU's progressive agenda. A recent survey shows Hungarian support for the EU has dropped to just 47%, down from around 80% a decade ago. The real question now is the EU still Hungary's best ally? For Orbán, it seems the answer is increasingly no. As tensions with Brussels rise, Hungary is exploring alternatives. Its shift toward Eastern powers is not just a political statement. It's a fundamental repositioning of the country's role on the global stage. Hungary has begun striking new trade deals, strengthening its ties with Russia and China, and tapping into their expanding markets. Notably, Hungary became the first EU member to join China's Belt and Road Initiative, a vast infrastructure project that promises economic growth, but aligns nations closer to Chinese interests. Hungary's pivot is a direct challenge to EU unity. The European Union has always prided itself on its collective foreign policy, but Hungary's actions threaten to fracture this unity. This isn't just about trade deals, it's about the ideological divides emerging within Europe. As Hungary builds stronger connections with the East, EU member states are growing increasingly concerned about further divisions within the bloc. Speaking of the East, let's examine BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The group has quickly become a formidable counterweight to the West, and Hungary sees it as an increasingly important economic force. BRICS nations are growing in influence, with their collective GDP growth outpacing that of the G7. In fact, BRICS countries now account for around 31% of global GDP, slightly ahead of the G7's share. Hungary, by forging stronger ties with these nations, is positioning itself at the center of this shifting global economic narrative. However, Hungary's dependency on Russian energy complicates its relationship with the EU. Despite EU sanctions on Russia following its invasion of Ukraine, Hungary has continued to import gas from Russia, prioritizing energy security over European unity. With approximately 85% of Hungary's gas imports still coming from Russia, this situation undermines EU cohesion and puts Hungary at odds with the broader European stance. The Hungarian government argues that energy security must be maintained regardless of the EU's sanctions, presenting a tricky dilemma for many European countries caught between energy needs and political considerations. In addition to energy, Hungary's position on military aid has also sparked controversy. During the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, Hungary blocked EU military support for Ukraine, citing national interests. This move has placed Hungary in direct opposition to both NATO and EU policies at a time of heightened global tension. For Orbán's government, this is about asserting sovereignty in a polarized political environment, raising questions about Hungary's commitment to NATO solidarity. Furthermore, Hungary's delay in ratifying Sweden's NATO membership has drawn international scrutiny. Orbán has argued that Sweden's criticisms of Hungary's democratic backsliding are the main reason for the delay, while others suggest Hungary is using its veto power as leverage, signaling that it will not bow to EU pressure. The question is whether Hungary is positioning itself as a strategic player or a mere pawn in a much larger geopolitical game. Let's now shift focus to Hungary's growing alliance with China. As the only EU country that publicly supports China's Belt and Road Initiative, Hungary is positioning itself as a key link between Europe and Asia. This partnership has led to significant Chinese investments in infrastructure, technology, and education. However, this alliance comes with considerable risks. Critics argue that Hungary is jeopardizing its sovereignty by becoming overly dependent on Chinese investments, which could grant Beijing significant leverage over Hungary's domestic and foreign policy decisions. While the relationship with China opens doors to economic opportunities, it also raises concerns about Hungary's autonomy within the EU. Is Hungary jeopardizing its European ties for the sake of short-term gains with China? Only time will tell. As Hungary continues its shift eastward, the consequences for Europe, NATO, and global geopolitics are still unfolding. Hungary's realignment signals a new chapter in European and global politics, one that may fundamentally reshape alliances and power dynamics in the years to come. What does Hungary's involvement in China's Belt and Road Initiative mean for its economic future? This partnership, though full of potential, brings both opportunities and risks that could significantly shape the country's trajectory. The Belt and Road Initiative promises infrastructure development and economic growth, but it also creates dependencies that might impact Hungary's autonomy in the years to come. In 2022, Hungary saw Chinese investments surpassing $1 billion, mostly directed toward transportation and energy sectors. While this investment could deliver short-term economic boosts, concerns linger over what happens once the bills come due. While Hungary benefits now, its growing reliance on China could have long-term consequences that challenge its independence and position in Europe. Could Hungary's strengthening relationship with China and the BRICS nations signal a shift in global power dynamics? This is not just about one country distancing itself from the West, but a reflection of broader global shifts in alliances. More and more nations are seeking alternatives to traditional Western power structures, and Hungary's growing ties with BRICS could be an indicator of this wider trend. The BRICS coalition, which includes countries like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, is slowly expanding, with nations like Argentina, Egypt, and Iran signaling interest in joining. Hungary's alignment with these countries suggests a broader challenge to the Western-dominated global order. The BRICS bloc is becoming an increasingly influential player, and Hungary's involvement could be seen as part of a larger transition toward a multipolar world. By aligning itself with BRICS, Hungary is positioning itself not only for immediate economic benefits, but also to potentially shape long-term global power structures. BRICS nations are making concerted efforts to create their own financial systems, including the new development bank and the contingent reserve arrangement, aiming to rival Western-led institutions like the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. In 2023, BRICS nations made up about 44% of the global population and 31% of the world's GDP, underlining their significant economic influence. Hungary's relationship with these nations could elevate its international standing and open new doors for trade and investment. However, as Hungary deepens its engagement in China's Belt and Road Initiative, concerns about China's growing regional influence arise. Hungary's role as a key European transit hub for Belt and Road infrastructure investments could stimulate economic growth. Strategic positioning as a central trade link between Asia and Europe offers Hungary a unique opportunity for development. But this also raises questions. What happens if Hungary's economic fate becomes too intertwined with China's interests? This dilemma is not just about Hungary. It has broader implications for the European Union, EU. Hungary's pivot towards BRICS presents a challenge to EU unity, which has historically been based on collective action and shared values. If Hungary's defection is seen as a trend, it could spur other EU countries to reassess their own alignments, fracturing the unity that has defined the bloc for decades. Polls show growing skepticism toward the EU in countries like Poland and Italy, mirroring Hungary's own Euroscepticism. This increasing disenchantment could trigger a wave of political shifts across Europe, threatening the EU's cohesion. Should Hungary continue on this path, the EU could face a major realignment of priorities. Member states may either align with Hungary's new direction or rally to reaffirm the EU's original vision. The political fallout from Hungary's actions is not just about economic disagreements. It involves navigating complex international relationships. How will the EU respond to a member state steering away from its foundational principles? Leaders within the EU must balance national sovereignty with the need for unity, an increasingly difficult task in today's divided political climate. Turning to Hungary's economy, its tilt toward BRICS could provide both immediate and long-term benefits. Trade with non-EU countries like China and Russia could bring economic opportunities. Projects under the Belt and Road Initiative could trigger infrastructure investments that boost local economies and employment. In 2023, Chinese investments in Hungary were projected to contribute 1 to 2% of GDP, with growth in manufacturing and technology sectors. But there are risks. Over-reliance on these new partnerships could leave Hungary vulnerable if global market dynamics shift again. Furthermore, Hungary's move toward BRICS could isolate it from the rest of the EU, which might react by imposing trade barriers or other sanctions. This isolation could hurt Hungary's economic prospects in the long term, creating instability not only for Hungary, but also for its EU partners. As Hungary pursues deeper ties with BRICS, it faces tough decisions. The government has already signaled that it will not compromise on its stance regarding energy and military policies. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán has emphasized Hungary's commitment to sovereignty, suggesting that these decisions will guide Hungary's foreign policy for years to come. Hungary is now at a crossroads, where its choices will define its future role in global geopolitics. Will it strengthen its position as a bridge between East and West, or will it risk becoming an outlier within the EU? This moment could be pivotal, not just for Hungary, but for Europe's future. How will the EU react to this divergence? Will Hungary's pursuit of a path that challenges EU values lead to a major reshaping of the continent's political landscape? As Hungary navigates these new alliances, the consequences will be felt across Europe and beyond, testing the stability of international relations and global governance. The path forward is uncertain, but one thing is clear. Hungary's actions could play a pivotal role in reshaping global power dynamics. As Hungary seeks to redefine its international alignments, Europe must grapple with the implications. The future of the EU and the broader geopolitical landscape could very well depend on how these challenges are addressed. Thanks for watching. If you found this video thought-provoking, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis. Share this video to help us grow our community, and be sure to check out another video we've linked for further insights.